Hi, my name is Jeremy, this is Red Means Recording, and this is a series of videos on the ASM Hydrasynth. We have gone over a whole bunch already, so please check the playlist if you are coming to this video not at the beginning, unless all you want to learn today is about the mod matrix and macros, in which case I have you covered, because that's what we're going to talk about. In the previous video, we talked about envelopes and LFOs and just how powerful they are when we route them to things, but we didn't really talk about the routing itself. So the Hydrasynth has a very robust mod matrix where you assign various things to other things to modulate them. You have 32 slots of mod, and then you have a macro page, which allows you to assign multiple controls to one knob, and they have developed a very ingenious system for naming them, which I think is just such a cool quality of life thing, and we're going to talk about that today. The power of sound design for any synthesizer lies in its ability to modulate itself. And I have been coming to the ASM at the same time as getting deep into modular and Eurorack stuff, and I feel that the ASM is rivaling my modular system in terms of what it can do in terms of modulation. So let's talk about the mod matrix. There's a couple ways to get into it. You can hit mod matrix right here and go down and hit assign, and then scroll through all these things and pick various things to assign to other things. So, for instance, LFO3, I could then say, go to the reverb dry wet, like that. And now LFO3 is modulating the reverb dry wet. But that took a long time, didn't it? I'm going to hit initialize and initialize that real quick. That took a really long time. Luckily, we don't have to do it like that. If I hold down LFO3, or any one of these controls here, I can now pick reverb, and it's going to populate the mod matrix with the first control for that particular modulation destination and the modulation source. All just like that, just did it. So while you're in the mod matrix, you need to move on to the next one if you want to do that little shortcut. If you exit the mod matrix, it'll automatically assign it to the next thing. So another way that you can assign things here is if you're in this screen and you're on the top row, you hit the source, and you go down, hit the destination, and it's going to populate it. So now our LFO is doing some work on the delay. So those are the ways that you can assign things to the mod matrix. It's very, very intuitive, and you don't have to menu dive. Everything is right here. If a parameter doesn't have that as an option, then it's not going to assign. And yeah, you can even modulate the mod matrix itself, which is crazy. So if I wanted ribbon to control my cutoff, I could hit ribbon and filter 1 and turn it up, turn my cutoff down for filter 1. And that's controlled there. You can also control the ARP from here. Initialize these two things by holding init and pressing the thing there. If I wanted LFO3 to change the division, LFO3, ARP division, turn the ARP on. You can do that. You could have LFO3 modulate the chance. There we go. That's kind of a bad example. But most things here can be assigned a modulation source, which is really, really cool. So let's just go ahead and create a more complex sound using the mod matrix so that we can move into the macros and talk about how powerful they are. So the first thing I want to do is go to oscillator 1, change this to a wave scan, which means it's going to have a wavetable. Clean off my screen and go into my wave list, and I'm going to hit shift and actually, no, I'm going to hit random and pick some random wavetables. So now if I go back into oscillator 1, turn off our ARP, I have a wave scan to go through. Okie dokie. So let's assign something to that wave scan. Let's assign LFO3 to the wave scan. So holding down LFO3, hit oscillator 1, it populates it in there, and then this. You can adjust the depth of that modulation here. We're going to turn this to BPM sync. Actually, I'm going to use step for this. We talked about LFOs. and modulators envelopes in the previous video. Okay, cool. Let's create a mutator. Let's go into macro assign here and hit edit macro 1. Now we are faced with a sort of second mod matrix, but this one is going to be controlled by these 8 knobs here, and these give you incredible control over shaping your sound as a performance sort of thing. So I'm going to turn LFO 3 all the way down, and I'm going to go into our macro assign, hit edit macro 1, and I'm going to assign this to LFO 3, and I want this to be level. I'm going to turn this all the way up. Now, one of the things I like to do when I'm using the macro assigns is once I've populated it with one value, I'm going to turn this all the way up. So now I can hear what my macro assign is going to sound like at its fullest iteration, when it's turned all the way up, and I will be able to adjust the depths of my macro assigns in that particular slot to be what I want them to. So remember, we set up a mutant over here. Let's go ahead and go to macro assign, edit, and make sure that we have this all the way up. Yeah, macro assign, edit, and then assign a mutant 1, and we wanted depth. So now, with that macro, we can adjust the sound incredibly. Now, you can see it says macro 1 right there. Let's go back into macro assign, hit edit. And first of all, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots that you can assign to one macro. So you can imagine how insane you can get with this. On the last page for the macro is this name thing. And for a while, when I first got the synth and I was naming my macros like an idiot, I was going in here and doing a custom name, which took forever. And then I read the manual. If I turn this knob here, I now get access to a giant population of pre-named macros. I don't have to name my macros because, ASM made this name list that you can choose from. We have simple things like changing the interval, adding air, attack. We have bacon, beef, bleed. We have woof, very important. Just use these, make huge. These are incredibly useful, and it separates the tedium from doing naming, which is really, really good. So I'm going to see if there's a warp. I bet you there is. There's one called stank. Warp. So there, bam. Now my macro is named warp. So let's keep on doing more stuff. Let's assign oscillator to, it'll just be a wave, and we're going to assign LFO 3, which is our warp LFO, to oscillator 2's wave. And we're going to go ahead and turn this up here. Yeah. So let's go back into our macros, hit edit, assign mixer oscillator 2 volume. Turn this up. No, we'll just call this mod 2. I don't know, whatever, fine. Macro 3, we're going to assign to mutant 2. Is it mutant 4? Yeah, macro assign, macro edit 3, assign mutant 4, dry wet, and we'll name this, is there like chorus? And macro assign, edit, assign mutant 2, depth. I'll turn this down to like there. Unselect this, copy it, and assign this to mutant 4, depth, and turn this down to almost 0. And then name it. Yeah, baby. Very, very powerful. And one of the things that's always been annoying to me about dealing with a macro system like this is, one, being able to assign stuff to it, and two, being able to quickly name things. And they fixed that. And I fucking love that. I think it's so fucking cool that you can just pick from a name and have this sort of like taxonomy that is going to be consistent amongst all your patches. So that is our friend the mod matrix and macro assign. Very powerful. Very, very powerful. Friendo. In the next video, we will talk about effects, arpeggiator, random browser and save, some of that stuff. Maybe we'll get through it all in one video. I don't know. I'm trying to make these easily digestible. My name is Jeremy. Check the other videos in the playlist. This is Red Means Recording. I hope this was fun, and I'll see you in the next video, and have a wonderful day.